Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ask Engineer. It's me, Lady Ada, the engineer, and with me is Mr. Lady Ada on camera control, a perfect human being running the show perfectly every time. We've got an exciting show for tonight. We are broadcasting live from the Adafruit headquarters in downtown Manhattan. So we all do our testing, shipping, manufacturing, kitting, videoing, tutorializing, supporting of all the electronic and robotics goodies that you love to use in your projects and arts and studies and all that good stuff. Right now, everything's chill here. Everyone's gone home except for us two. We're stuck here because we have no home to go to. We live here. We're going to have an hour full of fun and news and maybe, some, it's not out yet, don't ask, whatever. It's all here. It's all happening. So why don't you tell them what's on tonight's show?
On tonight's show, the code is Neowing. It'll all make sense soon. But that code gets you 10% off in the Adafruit store all the way up to 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time for everything except for Codecademy, AdaBox, and gift certificate. It supports us, an open source hardware company, 100% woman-owned manufacturing company in New York City.
Are there any others?
I have not been told on Twitter that I'm wrong, so therefore I must be right. So this is it, folks. If you like seeing a open source manufacturing company that's completely independent, the only way to make this continue to happen is if you buy something, use the code Neowing so you save some money, and then we can get some money, and then we can pay all the people who work here.
We don't have BC or loans or funding, so
That's
this
right.
is it. Okay.
People around the world showing and sharing their project. Show and tell. Lady Ada will talk about who's on the show and tell and the project they shared. JP's workshop will do a couple previews and a Make Code Minutes. We have some Python on hardware. Some help wanted from the Adafruit jobs board. You can post your skills and get the dream job, or
Get a job. Hire a
you
job.
can be a company and be looking out for folks. How do you get them? Well, the jobs board.
It's free.
Time travel. We'll look around the world of makers, hackers, artists, engineers, things that are going on. 3D printing. We got a sped up video and a special Adafruit video we'll show. Got some made in New York City factory footage. We got some new products. We got some top secret. And we will answer your questions. We do that over on Discord. You can go there now and throughout the show, but at the end is when we answer the questions. So go to adafruit.it/Discord. Join all 16,000 of us over there. All that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Yay!
Okay, so let's pay some bills for all these folks with skills. Code's Neowing, don't forget. Also, we have free stuff, so as you check out, you can get free stuff. What are the free things?
I'll tell them all about it. $99 or more, you get a free Perm Proto half-size breadboard. It's same size and shape as a solderless breadboard, so you can take your project after you prototyped it, solder it onto the Perm Proto, and it's nice and sturdy. Got nice gold pads and silkscreen red and blue marks on it. Love them. People use them all the time. That's free with your order of $99 or more. $199 or more, you get free UPS ground shipping. That's free shipping in the continental United States. Trackable, insured, UPS. It's our preferred method of domestic shipping in the United States, so you'll get that free. And $299 or more, you get a free Circuit Playground Express. That's our all-in-one development board with NeoPixels, buttons, sensors, microphones, buzzers, capacitive touchpads. Runs Arduino, CircuitPython, Code.org Shift Discoveries, Microlisp, TeenyGo, MakeCode, Maker Blocks. There's so much stuff you can do with it. You got like hundreds of projects. And all we have is photos of kids around the world learning how to code with Python or MakeCode or Arduino using a Circuit Playground Express. It's awesome.
Yeah, we'll show some of that tonight. For shipping, continental U.S., use UPS. For mysteries and more, use Postal Service because it occasionally disappears for a while, but generally
it comes back.
It gets there, so a little low cost, but just know what you're getting into. And then international, DHL.
Great.
In New York City, if you check out before 11 a.m., and it's a zip code that's in Manhattan, you can get it same day. People around the world showing, sharing their projects. Lady Ada, who was on the show and tell this week, and what did they share?
We had a jam-packed show and tell. A lot of people came by. Melissa showed off a coming soon. It's a Bluetooth dashboard demo for our Bluetooth-enabled devices. We can transmit sensor data or receive messages for buttons and NeoPixels through a web Bluetooth dashboard. This is the only way we could figure out to do a completely cross-platform Bluetooth GUI, inspired by the Arduino dashboard they did for an IoT event. We're like, that looks so cool, so we're doing one for our boards as well. And Melissa's going to publish that up soon with, of course, all open source code. Non-Pedro are working on a guitar preview. It's got all these key buttons. It's got like a whammy bar. It's got like a strum plate. That's a collab with Liz Blitz City, and it's made with a Grand Central. So that's going to be coming out next couple weeks. It looks totally bitchin'. JP has a demo for an upcoming guide. This is the Bluetooth SensorNet, a collaboration with Scott. This code allows you to use one of our Bluetooth boards as a sensor node that broadcasts data like temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, light, whatever sensors are on the board. And then we're using a Raspberry Pi running a Python script to listen for that broadcasted sensor data, collect it, and then upload it to Adafruit IO. So a way of making a Bluetooth Low Energy sensor node network, which I think is going to be really neat because Bluetooth Low Energy has a pretty good range. I think we did range testing with the Circuit Playground Bluefruit, and we got like a couple 100 feet outdoors, and it works well indoors as well. And everyone's got a Raspberry Pi, which would make for a great Bluetooth to Wi-Fi gateway. So check out. Tomorrow is going to be JP's workshop. He's going to show that off, and then next week's or earlier next week's guide will probably be the Bluetooth sensor node. Phil B is rewriting one of our oldest libraries, the RGB Matrix library. It's so old it doesn't even have Adafruit in the name. That's how old it is.
Wow.
Because it's like which only like 3 or 4 sensors we have don't have Adafruit in the name because we started that very soon because we found it was very confusing if we didn't. But he's rewriting the Matrix code. It's going to be optimized for higher power, higher memory devices because the RGB Matrix library was written for the Arduino Uno, which is very minimal. It does work on the Uno, but it's not designed to work. It's so optimized for low power, low memory. It's not good for high power, high memory devices. And so he's making it have more flexibility in how you lay out the panels, bigger bit depth, and also splitting it apart in a way so that it can be integrated into CircuitPython so we can have RGB matrices in CircuitPython. I'm sure everyone is going to love that. Brian has killed Baby Yoda. No, he saved Baby Yoda.
Created Baby Yoda.
Or created Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
By, actually, Vanessa did a lot of the work of making.
Yeah, if you want to see one of the best sculptures of Baby Yoda, check out the show and tell.
See, we saw it at the Toy Fair presentation, and everyone's like, how can I get one of these Baby Yoda like vinyl dolls? You can't. But if you're Brian and Vanessa, you have one because they molded their own and they painted it, and it looks amazing. They also have a couple one-offs that don't have eyes, which is really creepy. Looks great, and they can parade it around and make everybody jealous.
That's right.
Next up, Scott previewed a new translation for CircuitPython number 5X. Release candidate 0 just came out. And also they're adding Arabic as a translation, which is super neat. It's the first right to left language that we're supporting in CircuitPython, so that's kind of a new experiment. Also, it's a ligature-based language where the characters, you have to print the words and characters. You want them to bind together in the right way and display the variations. So it's going to be interesting to see how we support the translations for Arabic. So far, so good. The hardest part is just finding a terminal that can handle both right to left and left to right text. Billin is in Orlando visiting a makerspace where he met Andrea, who is heading up an Impact Award, working with able gamers to create Freedom Wings. It's a cool makerspace. Like it's a makerspace that's part of a school, it seems like, and there's like a first robotics team, there's electronics and electrical debugging lab. I mean, this is a really amazing school/makerspace in Orlando. And it looks like they're doing some really neat stuff and working really hard, way harder than I did when I was in school, that's for sure. Liz came by, of course, showed that guitar project on a breadboard, also a step counter. Matt gave us an update on his Surface Dial. It's 3D printed now with a wood fill. He showed some demos of it being used with a graphics drawing program. Flavio built an 8x8 Neo Trellis, also a Phil B creation. He used an ESP32 feather in it to make a Wi-Fi button board. So it doesn't make music. Instead, it can send or receive messages over MQTT, which is neat. And speaking of MQTT, Richard has a scarf that is BLE powered, but sends messages through his phone to Adafruit IO or other MQTT services, which is one of the capabilities we have with our Bluefruit app.
That's right. All participants on the show and tell get an as seen on the show and tell sticker. Email support@adafruit.com. If you are a kid, please have a parental guardian-like unit send off that email. It's part of our Adafruit Live series of shows. JP's show tomorrow is 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Check it out. A couple previews. This is a little bit of the beacon stuff from during the weekend last week. And here is a little bit of a preview of what's coming up this week. And best thing to do if you have a Circuit Playground Express, or if you like to experiment and you have a Circuit Playground Express Bluefruit, you can use MakeCode. But a Circuit Playground Express, plug it into your computer, go to makecode.com, or just go to makecode.adafruit.com, and you can immediately start doing block editing.
Even if you've never coded before, it's designed for beginners.
Every week, JP does a MakeCode Minute, and here is last week's MakeCode Minute.
Yay.
For the MakeCode Minute today, what I've done is I have created a voltmeter for my Circuit Playground Express right inside of MakeCode. And what I'm using it for, you could use it to measure voltage and just tell you, let's say, the health of a battery. But I'm actually using it with a synthesizer. So I have a Winterbloom Soul, which is a MIDI to CV module that uses CircuitPython, and that is talking to some other synth gear. Okay, so what you're going to notice is I'm going to adjust the rate of what you see as that blinking red light, and that is this low frequency oscillator that's kind of changing a wave folder. It's changing sort of the harmonics of the wave that you're hearing. Okay, so what you'll see here in MakeCode is that I have a fairly simple setup, and it's actually more complex than it needs to be because I wanted to be able to change the colors. So I've got some setup blocks here with a variable for which color component I'm using. And then I have a button A input that changes my color component, and it kind of keeps that within 0, 1, and 2. And then this is the sort of interesting bit. I'm setting a variable called voltage to be a map of the analog read of pin A2, which I'm mapping the values as an analog read, so it goes from 0 to 1023, and I'm mapping that from 0 to 255, which is the level of brightness on one of the color components for my RGB NeoPixels. And then lastly here, I'm just picking which of these am I using depending on which number of times I've pressed my button. I'm either changing the red, the green, or the blue to keep pace with my low frequency oscillator. And now I'll press the A button and it'll switch from red to green, and I press it again and it'll go to blue. So that's a way to use the Circuit Playground Express to measure voltage, which in this case is an intrinsic part of this kind of modular synthesizer setup that I have going on, all set up right inside of MakeCode running on the Circuit Playground Express. And that is your MakeCode Minute.
And just a reminder, tomorrow, 4 p.m., JP's workshop. Okay, let's do some Python on hardware.
Yay, it's Blinket time.
Blink of time. First up, Morgan Stanley has a Morgan Stanley Makerspace program, and we posted up in our latest newsletter. They have a Circuit Playground with Circuit Python thing they're doing. So lots of kids getting hardware, able to fill their makerspaces with electronics so they can learn how to code. Check
And
it
colorful
out.
LEDs, look at it, it looks so cool.
And if you want to check it out, they're not just putting this on a separate Twitter account. This is on twitter.com/Morgan Stanley. So you know it's a big deal when the big companies are doing stuff with kids and code and makerspaces, and they use their main account, not like, you know, the name of the bank or whatever, like gives. You know, no, this is they're fully behind this. So very cool to see Morgan Stanley doing this. Next up, The latest issue of Hackspace magazine is out. We have a lot of the articles posted on our site that you can go and read. Don't forget to subscribe. If you subscribe, you can go and use the Hackspace, hackspacemag.cc
Yep.
/Adafruit and subscribe. But it's Python on hardware, and that's one of the big articles in there. Drew wrote it from Osh Park.
And he
Open
loves it
Hardware
because it's
Summit
like
and more.
microcontrollers, microcomputers, everything is supported.
Yeah.
And they definitely have a lot of Python code and projects in Hackspace every month. It's a monthly magazine. So subscribe.
Yeah.
They're coming to the US.
So check that out. And in addition to all the Python on hardware stuff in there and using Python to control LEDs, there's Design a Vase with Fusion 360, makes things with toothpicks, add audio to Raspberry Pi projects, and 3D print strong parts. Next up. This is kind of neat. If you've ever wanted to get the measurements out of a caliper and use them in some way, either to store them or do something with it with with an external device, CircuitPython measures up. There's a CircuitPython library for parsing data out of a
Mitsutoyo, yeah.
Digitomatic instrument like calipers or micrometers. And it's
This is
on
great for,
GitHub.
especially if you're doing a lot of automated measurements. You don't want to have one person recording and one person, measuring. You can just have it all happen automatically from your calipers.
During Engineers Week, DigiKey did a really neat thing. They had, and I'll just show the video and we'll just talk over it. They had a girls' night out for Engineering Week, and this year they hosted one for all the young women in their area to increase interest in STEM. They learned how to program a circuit playground from Adafruit, that's us. They used MakeCode, they used CircuitPython, they used things to build projects that they can keep for later, and the staff helped out. So this is a really good example of one of our partners doing something that scales. Like, for us, we can't really do workshops, we don't have space and all that, but this is something they did. So this is really neat to see. So thank you, DigiKey, for being such a great partner, and very cool work. And look at all these projects that they were able to do.
I love how all these girls, they have their own interests and backgrounds and experiences, and so when they become interested in electronics or engineering, they're going to come with their own, information and background, and it won't just be like what they learned in school. It'll be like these kinds of events that give them inspiration to design new and interesting electronics.
Next up, on Hackaday, they had new part day, and the things you can do with a clue. So check that over on Hackaday. They have a new part feature, and they had the clue on there. Next up, over on Osh Park, there is a post about Circuit Brains Deluxe, which packs CircuitPython into a 1-inch square.
Yeah, handy.
Some other things that are happening. This is something we've been noticing. This is a tweet from Isaac Kelly. My first Hello World in maybe a decade, but maybe I'm finally getting around to playing with CircuitPython. It's impressively straightforward and definitely the most pleasant code on microcontroller experience I had. That's what we were going for. We don't know this person. They just tweeted it out. We saw it. We thought this is neat because that's what we like to hear. Even if you haven't been doing any type of coding or Hello World in 10 years, if you could do something this easy, this fast, super cool. Also, this is maybe a more advanced engineer, maybe someone who's been doing this. And this is from Jordan. Most of my firmware flashing experiences require specialized software and often serial cable. It's frustrating and error prone. For CircuitPython, you plug it in via USB and it shows up as disk. You copy a file to a flash to flash the new firmware. This is so simple and good.
I have like 6 different DFU upload programs on my Windows computer, and they're all completely incompatible.
Yeah. I listen to Lemore's computer all the time. It goes,
That's all it does.
and you have to reboot sometimes.
I know.
This is kind of cool. Cedar Grove's learning how to use the CircuitPython display I/O first to make text and labels, then an animated battery monitor, sprite, and an automatic DST for the attached RTC real-time clock.
This is a nice little display.
Yeah. This is kind of neat. Bright Wearables is Geek Mom. Makes wearables and things that happen to use